Hello people there in FM, which is just probably not, but if you happen to stumble upon this video, today we're going to be doing a 2-round mock draft. We're really just going to be focusing on the first round, but I'm just going to start, firing off that second round when we get there. So let's get this started. At number one, obviously, we have Fernando Mendoza, no questions asked. And number two, with Jets, I'm going Arvar Reese. Love Arvar Reese. He looked really good down the stretch at Ohio State. He could play off the edge or linebacker, two positions that the Jets really need. I could see him doing like a 50-50 split on where he plays. And I think he has some high upside. At number three, not a lot of people like this pick, but I do have Spencer Fano going at number three to the Cardinals. The Cardinals really do need some help in that O-line. I think their defense is actually sneakily really good that people don't talk about. And they don't really need a guard. So that's the only reason I'm not picking Francis Magnolia, because I think in this league he is more fit for the guard position, and that's not what the the Cardinals really need. I think they need a tackle right now. So, yep. Number four, we're going to have the Titans going with Jeremiah Love. Kimwell needs some help on the offense, and I think Jeremiah Love could bring that to the offense, and I really like how he could team up with Tajay Spears. I think Tajay Spears is an underrated running back that they don't use. I think Tony Pollard, it's time to get out of there. Just cut him or trade him. I don't know. But I don't think they're going to get a wide receiver because they signed Wandale for so much. So I don't know if you would take one at 4. And I mean, they could take a defensive piece, but I don't really know about that. Number 5, the Giants going with Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles is very athletic. We saw, during the combine. He's really fast. He could play that pass coverage. He could stop the run. I know they signed Tremaine Edmonds during free agency, but why not get another linebacker in there, help up that defense? Sorry for rapid firing this off, but, want to make it a little shorter, with 2 rounds. At 6, I'm going to have the Browns going with Francis Magnolia. As I said, he's more like a guard in this league. He has short arms, so I think he's better there. The Browns could really use him at any of the tackle or guard if they really want to, but he could just fill in the holes wherever they need him to. At number 7, I'm going to have the Commanders going with Cardinal Tate, another pick I really like. They do need some wide receiver help. They spent all their free agency money on the defense, so to get Jaden Daniels some help to bring him back to that rookie form, and I think that Terry McLaurin, I think this is going to be his last season in that uniform, so bringing some new young talent that Jaden Daniels could bond with. At number 8, another pick I really like, Ruben Baines of the Saints. They do need some help off the edge because Cam Jordan is not coming back as of right now because they did not sign him. Maybe he's just going to retire, but Ruben Bain has been up and down throughout the season. He started off really good through that middle. He was a little slumpy, but in the playoffs he showed up. He had a really good season. He was projected to be a top 3 pick the whole season, so this is a little bit of a slide for him. But yeah, the Saints could use some help off the edge. And then at number 9, I'm going to have the Chiefs going with David Bailey. I think the 8 and 9 pick could really be either way, depending on which prospect teams like. But David Bailey was more consistent than Ruben Bain throughout the season. He was consistent through all of his years at Texas Tech. And I really do like him as a player. He's fast. He has long arms. He's 6'3", 250. But we'll also have to see. Plus, for Chris Jones, they need a new defensive leader on that line. Number 10, the Bengals going with Caleb Downs. I say this all the time, but they could really use help on either side, the O-line or the defense, so any pick is really better than none. So why not take Caleb Downs, who is going to be like a guaranteed at least better than average player, because you see his athleticism, you see how good he is. We know he's a guaranteed hit in this draft. At number 11, the Dolphins is another team that could really take anyone. I'm going with Mekhi Lemon. We've seen Mekhi Lemon. The issue with him is that he's 5'11", 195, but he plays like he's like 6'2", 220. He comes down with those 50-50 balls. He runs those crisp routes. And I don't know if he's the best wide receiver in the draft class. I personally think Jordan Tyson's better when he does play, but due to that injury history of the Dolphins, going with Mekhi Lemon since, Tyreek is gone, Jalen Waddle gone. They just need anyone that Malik Willis could throw the ball to. With the Cowboys' first pick, I'm going Montrell Lane. they could really use any help at corner. The corner isn't awful. I mean, but Bland wasn't all that they expected to be when they traded for him last offseason. And Montre Delane is another thing that I just said for wide receiver. I don't think Montre Delane is the best corner in this draft. Jamon McCoy could be better, but due to the injury history, they have to take the safe bet and go with Montre Delane. I don't love Montre Delane as a player, but he's playable. So, yeah. At 13, another pick that I really love, the Rams go on Monroe Freeling, because he's been shooting up the draft stock recently. I don't know really why, but he has. And the Rams shouldn't even have this pick because the Falcons are stupid and traded during the draft last year. But Ronald Freeling's kind of a beast. We've seen when he was good at times. He's 6'7", 315, so he's really big. And he has a high upside. And with Hartenstein retiring for the Rams, I think he's a good piece for the win now mentality and for the future. At 14, I'm going to have the Ravens going with Kenyon Sadiq. They do need a wide receiver, but I don't know if I would love taking Jordan Tyson at 14. So Kenyon Sadiq is kind of just like a bona fide thick wide receiver. He looked really good at Oregon. He ran that 4.4 at the combine. He's really fast. And Lamar Jackson needs someone to throw the ball to. Zay Flowers has somehow managed to be that guy for all these years, even though he fumbles every other ball. So to bring someone else in that could actually catch a ball, including since Isaiah likely left in free agency, I think they're going to feel that impact. I think he could end up taking the starting role for Mark Andrews, and Mark Andrews could be dealt at the deadline. At 15, I am going to have the Bucks going with Keldrick Falk. I think it's a little bit of a reach, but they do need some edge help. And a lot of people have been saying Akeem Mesidor could go here, but I don't really like him as a prospect because of his age. Akeem Mesidor is 25 compared to Keldrick Falk. He's only 21. So I think by the time that he gets to the age 25, he'd be way past what Akeem Mesidor is. So you just have a longer lifespan with him. And since he has a lot of high pressure, I think, a high upside, I think that he could be one of the best edge rushers in the league. He's 6'6", 285. He looks really good at Auburn. It's just he played at Auburn, which wasn't really good too. It was overlooked on his high upside. At 16 with the Jets' second pick, I'm going with Vega Ione. Might as well build up that O-line for this tanking season because Chino is not getting them anywhere. He wouldn't get any other team, right? But I like that they picked Armand Membu last year, and let's just continue to build that O-line up. Since they lost Elijah Vera Tucker during free agency. Lions, I'm going with CJ Allen. They just need someone to team up with Jack Campbell since Alex Angeloni left to the Bucs during free agency. And he could play that pass coverage. He could stop the run. I think CJ Allen isn't, perfect right now, but as this says right here, he's reliable. He's going to be able to play that linebacker position. He's going to have a few mistakes, but he's not going to be the worst. It's better than what they would have now. At 18, we have the match made in heaven, as I always say. Vikings taking Dylan Dynaman. If this doesn't happen, I would be shocked. Because it just seems like that's the only thing the Vikings really need, except for some D-line help, which I wouldn't love taking right now at 18. Dylan Dynaman's very athletic. We've seen his draft stock rise since the Senior Bowl and the Combine. And since Harrison Smith retired, the Vikings need a new safety, because I don't even know who that safety would be right now. At 19, I have the Panthers going with Jordan Tyson. Might as well get Bryce Young some more weapons, because I know McMillan won Offensive Rookie of the Year, but other than that, they also just need some more help, because Jalen Coker shined at times, which I really like, but I think the Xavier Legette experiment over, so let's get him out of there. Bring in some new life for Jordan Tyson. When he does play, he's one of the best to do it. Obviously, he has some injury track record, which holds him back, but I really do like him as a prospect when he does play. At pick 20 with the Cowboys' second pick. This is where I'm going to have Akeem Mesidor going. As I said before, I don't love Akeem Mesidor because of his age. Obviously, he's 25. When he gets to the end of his rookie contract, he'll be 29. So at that point, I think he got slide into the second round. Obviously, him playing isn't the issue. He's obviously a good player. We saw him during the playoffs. He played really good. But the age is the only thing that's really holding me back. At 21, I'm going to have the Steelers going with Omar Cooper Jr. I know that they got Michael Pittman during the trade during the offseason. But I think let's bring in a wide receiver 3 for the future because Michael Pittman is getting up there in age by the end of his contract. He'll be like 30-something. DK's getting up there in age. Let's bring in some new talent. This Mark Cooper Jr. was Fernando Mendoza's #1 guy down the stretch. Since that toe tap at Penn State, and he's 6'4", 204. He's really elusive. He runs routes good, and really like him. At 22, I'm gonna have the Chargers going with Caden McDonald. All I've said about Caden McDonald is he gets home to the quarterback sometimes, but he's just a really good run stopper. He's like 6'3", 326. Just put him right in the middle. No one will run right towards him. And it will really just help shape up this Chargers D-line. 23. The Eagles may be reaching here, but Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, I really like him. Also, I keep repeating the same things, but I do really like him. The Inver replaced Reed Blankenship after he left in free agency, so he's really the best safety available into probably the late second round. So it may be a little bit of reach, but if you want a safety, you're going to have to grab him now. For the Browns' second pick, I'm going to have him going with Denzel Boston. They need to help up whoever that quarterback is going to be because that wide receiver room is Jerry Jeudy, Isaiah Bond, and Denzel brings something that no one else has is size, which is 6'4", 209. He runs routes actually really good for the size he is. Because Jerry Jeudy's 5'11", Isaiah Bond's like 5'10". So someone who could just come down with 50-50 balls would really change the offense, I think. At 25, I'm of the Bears going with Peter Woods. Some people have him falling to day 2, but I don't know why his draft stock fell so much. Because even when he was playing bad during the season, we were all saying he's still a top 5 pick. So I think for him even falling to 25 is crazy because obviously he didn't produce like he did during his freshman year and sophomore year. But he's still a really good player with high upside. And the Bears really need someone on that D-line because I don't really know anyone on that D-line. So might as well stack you up with someone who has high upside. He may not look amazing immediately, but he has that upside. Same with his teammate I'm going to have right here, TJ Parker. Another player with very high upside, I think. I think the Bills need some help off the edge. I know they signed Bradley Chubb, but Bradley Chubb has not been the same since he left those Broncos all those years ago. So TJ Parker, obviously looked really good in 2024, but same with Peter Woods, Clemson wasn't really playing for anything, so maybe that affected their stats. But I think he has high upside, might as well take him in that first round. First round picks may not be good off the bat, but if you know they have talent, why not take them? If you were going to take them maybe in the second round, but you don't know who you're going to take in the first round, might as well take the risk, because why would you want to risk someone else taking someone that you know is going to be a good prospect? Because you don't want to waste the pick or you were scared of the criticism. At 27, I'm just going to have the 49ers going with Blake Miller. Another Clemson pick, but I think it's just a safe bet. They need some help on that O-line. I don't really know what's happening with Trent Williams right now. I don't think anyone really does. So let's just bring Blake Miller in. I know there's a bunch of other O-linemen who could go here, like Caden Proctor and Max Ehanaker. But at 28, I'm going to have the Texans going with Caleb Banks. Caleb Banks obviously didn't play much this season due to injury, but he's obviously a really good run stopper. He can get back to the quarterback at sometimes, and honestly, it may be a steal at 28. So the Texans are trying to get richer, in their defense, who's already the best defense, and I think he's high upside. 29, I'm going to have the Chiefs taking a risk with Jermon McCoy. Jermon McCoy could fall to the second round or even go higher. Kind of a similar situation to Will Johnson last year. But the Chiefs could really take any secondary help right now since they lost Harvard during free agency, and they could take Avion Terrell to be a little safer, but Avion Terrell is obviously 5'11", so that's the only thing you kind of have to watch out for. He's a little short, but he's aggressive, so they could go there. But Jermon McCoy, obviously, I think could be the best corner in this draft. He didn't play this season due to injury, but when he did play the other years, he looked really good. At pick 3 with the Dolphins' second pick, another safe pick on the O-line. Have to go with Max Edenhager. Not much to say because he's the O-line, but they could really use any help on the O-line. Aaron Brewer's very good, but that's their center. Other than that, they don't really have anyone else. Then we have the Patriots with the 31st pick. I'm going with Cassius Howell. Obviously in the best edge rusher in this draft class, but, at pick 31, you take what you get. He's 6'2", 248, so he's a little small. But, he gets home sometimes. He looked really good this season, but A&M was just having kind of a legacy season, so it's kind of hard to tell. But they really do need some edge help with Chison leaving a free agency, and right now, I don't know if I would reach with anyone. Zion Young, you could maybe reach for, but I don't know if I'd love that. Then we have the Seahawks. I'm going to have them taking Avion Terrell. You just won the Super Bowl. Might as well reach on something like Avion Terrell because you need that secondary help. You lost lots of secondary during free agency. Could go with Colton Hurd, but I think Avion Terrell, he has the genetics. We've seen AJ Terrell play. So take that risk, Seahawks. But I am actually have Colton Hurd going to the Jets right now. Because the Jets, one of those teams that they can really use help anywhere. And since they lost Sauce Gardner, I don't even know who's on that secondary. So let's just bring some young talent in and Colton Hurd. At 34, this is where my Ty Simpson landed. Because there's no way they actually are going into the season with Jacoby Brissett or Gardner Minshew as quarterback. They have to have some plan with getting Ty Simpson. They can even trade up in the first round. I could probably see, like the Giants did with Jackson Dart, I could see a similar trade package. But there's just no way. Obviously, Ty Simpson looked good at the beginning. During the second half of the season, he looked not so good. But, his draft stock has been shooting up recently due to his agent just yapping. So, with the Titans next pick, I'm going to go with Emmanuel Pregon. Get some help on that O-line for Cam Ward so he doesn't get sacked and fumble every ball. Nothing really much to say. He's a guard. I think he's probably the second best guard in this class, considering what you consider Francis Magnolia. But, yeah. With the Raiders' next pick, another O-line pick. Caden Proctor to help Fernando Mendoza and Ashton Genty, because, if they have some O-line to help protect them, it can actually be a crazy offense. Obviously, they've known to throw the ball to right now, but still. Ashton Genty, if he can at least get out of the backfield, could do something. At 37, I'm going to have the Giants going with D'Angelo Pons. A little bit of a risk because of his size. Was he like 5'11", 5'10", 5'9"? Oh my god, I did not know he. But we've seen him jump up. This dude jumps like he's 6'4". I know he's 5'9", that he's a little taller, so he may fall a little bit. But yeah, I'm actually just shocked that he's that short. But we've seen him come down with the balls. We've seen him in the playoffs. He's fast. He's athletic. He jumps high. So I don't know if it would be an awful pick. At 38, I'm going to have the Texans going with fixing up some of their old line with Caleb Lamu. Caleb Lamu was actually kind of a steal in the second round because, he played good at Utah throughout all of his career. Kind of along with Spencer Vano. Really like him as prospects. He could honestly go in the first round. And the Texans are low-key just getting steals with Caleb Banks and Caleb Lamu. The two Calebs. Didn't realize that, but, might as well just take him if he's there because you need any help on that O-line. To save C.J. Stroud. The Browns, obviously they help the offense with these first two picks. So with this next pick, let's have him go with Zion Young. As I said before, Zion Young is mocked in some mock drafts to go in the first round. So let's get someone to team up with Myles Garrett. Because, they could really use some help off the other side of the edge. I don't really know who it is, to be honest, right now. But, someone just, since Myles Garrett is a decoy, get someone young, that could maybe go off and get a sack from the other side when they're distracted with Myles Garrett. So with the Chiefs' second pick, I'm going with Casey Concepcion. Or actually their third pick, sorry. But it kind of just seems like a Chiefs kind of pick. They love these short, fast guys. So I'm just going to have him go with him. I mean, honestly, I don't love Casey Concepcion because I don't think he's fast enough to separate. And he does not come down to the 50-50 balls. But, the Chiefs could use some help on wide receiver. I don't know if Xavier Woodley has panned out what they wanted to be. I don't really know what's happening with Rashee Rice, with his personal life right now. So, with the Bengals, I'm gonna have to go with Christian Miller. Obviously, they did get Jonathan Allen. Yeah, Jonathan Allen in free agency. But you get some young dude in there. He's a good run stopper. You know, I don't know if the AFC North row needs some run stoppers, except for Derrick Henry, you need to stop. But the other two teams I'm not too concerned about. But let's just help that defense, because why not? The defense isn't the best. I'm going to start rapid firing this because this is starting to take a little too long and no one's even going to watch it anyway. So let's just start rapid firing. At 42, I'm going to have the Saints finally. Someone's going to reach on Jacob Rodriguez, and might as well be them. He may be the best linebacker, or he may be an extreme bust. We'll just have to see. You know, he was 5th in Heisman. He was all this talk. So we'll just have to see how he performs. At 43, I'm going to have the Dolphins going with. Where is he? I think I passed him. Lee Hunter, usually the first one here. They need any help that they can. As I said before, Lee Hunter is a great run stopper. He gets back to the quarterback sometimes. He's a big boy. At 44, I'm going to have the Jets going with Jeremy Bernard. I think he's the best wide receiver right now because Chris Bell, he looked good at the beginning of the season, but since he's coming off that injury, I think it's an ACL. I wouldn't want to risk taking him when you know Jeremy Bernard and him are similar levels, so might as well take someone who you know is healthy. 45, I'm going to have the Ravens going with Chase Benatis. This dude was hyped up to go in the first round, obviously, in the beginning of the season or mid of the season. But, yeah, the Ravens could use some O-line help since, you know, Tyler Linderbaum left. So, might as well take someone there. At 46, I'm going to have them. The Bucks going with Eli Stowers. I know they brought back Cade Otton, but I don't really love Cade Otton being the tight end one. Mike Evans also left, so they do need someone to, you know, catch balls, except for Emeka Ibuka, who fell off during the second part of the season. To bring in someone like Eli Stowers, he's a really tall person. I know if this would load, it's not going to load, but he's like 6'6", and he comes down to his balls. So I really do like him as a player. With the Colts first pick, I'm going to have him going with R. Mason Thomas. Obviously, they were trying to get Trey Hendrickson, but that fell through because the Ravens are, you know, a sneaky organization who shouldn't be doing what they did. But R. Mason Thomas, you know, he's a good player. At 48 with the Falcons first pick, I'm going to have him going with Brandon Cisse. They need some help on that defense. You know, they could use some edge help because I don't know what's happening with James Pierce right now. So if something does happen with him, like he goes to jail, I think they could take a Gabe Yakis or something, but we'll just have to see. The Vikings are going to also help this secondary with this also pick with Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson's an interesting player. I think he's a very good player. We've seen him play. He played for San Diego State, so, you know, kind of hard to tell against his opponents, but he's really good at man-to-man coverage. You know, he's 6'4", 195. He's fast. I think he's some high upside. At 50, I'm going to have another secondary pick in the line taking Keith Abney because, you know, their secondary looked a little rough last season. I knew it was due to some injury, but let's just bring a young person in. At 51, I'm going to have the Panthers going with Jake Goldhead. Obviously, Christian Rosebloom left in free agency, and I don't really. They did sign Kevin Byard, but let's just bring another young person in because Kevin Byard is getting up there in age. Jake Goldhead, I think, is maybe the second best linebacker. It could be in between him and Josiah Trotter, but Jake Goldhead did look good at Cincinnati. So, 52. We'll have the Green Bay Packers going with Keontae Scott. They could use some secondary help. It was kind of a mess last year. You know, they released Shire Alexander, but then they signed Trayvon Diggs, and then that didn't work out, so they cut him. So let's just bring Keontae Scott. He looked good. And then the Steelers, I'm going with Jennings Dunkers. I don't really know what's happening with Broderick Jones after his back surgery. And they could take a guard here. A lot of teams could really take guards, but I don't really love any of these guard options. Obviously, I don't even know who the next best guard would be. I think it would be Rutledge, who could go in the second round, but he could be early third round. The Eagles, with this next pick, are going to go with Gabe Yakis. Obviously, they couldn't bring back Jalen Phillips with the price he was asking for. So they do need some more edge help. At 55, I am going to have the Chargers going with A.J. Halsey. At 56, I'm going to have, this is where I'm going to have Josiah Trotter landing. Because they just lost Kevin Byard, as I just mentioned before, to the Panthers. I don't even know who the other linebacker is. So let's just bring in Josiah Trotter, who could be the second best linebacker here. With the Bears' second pick, I'm taking the risk on Chris Bell. Chris Bell could obviously go a lot earlier, but that ACL injury. But when he was playing, he looked really good. 6'2", 220. He could catch his balls. He run routes good. At 58, I'm going to have the 49ers going with, where is he? Joshua Josephs. Any edge help is good help, as I said. At 59, I'm going to have the Texans going with Jadarian Price. Obviously, Montgomery cannot be the running back forever. Woody Marks did look good last season. But, if you see a running back sitting here like Jadarian Price, I don't know if you would bang not take him because your 6th round running back looked good last season. And Jadarian Price has more upside than I think people realize because he's just been sitting behind Jeremiah Love. But when he did play, he averaged like 6 yards per carry throughout his whole career. So, that's all I got to say. At 60, I'm the Bears hoping that D-line tomorrow with Malachi Lawrence. His stock really did shoot up at the Combine and during Senior Bowl. And, as I mentioned before, I don't know anyone on that D-line. So, any help is good help. The Rams with this next pick, it could really be Chris Bradshaw or Skylar Bell. But Skylar Bell is looking a sneaky prospect since he played at UConn. Not really many people pay attention to him, but he runs his routes really good. I know they were interested in A.J. Brown trade conversation, so they're obviously looking for a wide receiver since Devontae Adams is probably his last year. So let's just get Skylar Bell, someone with some high upside who played good that people didn't really talk about much. At 62, I'm going to have the Broncos going with, where is he? Anthony Hill Jr. They need some linebacker help, obviously, since I don't even know what happened with Drake Greenlaw, the cut-in situation. But it's crazy because Anthony Hill Jr. was originally mocked through the whole season to go to the Broncos in the first round, and now he fell to the second round. So let's just take him here. At 63, I have the Patriots going Caleb Tiernan. They obviously need some help on the O-line. We saw Drake May during the playoffs, not good. And then with this last pick, I'm going to have the Seahawks. This may be a reach, but Mike Washington Jr. Because, Zach Charbonnet is hurt. And then I'll tell you, I don't even know who their other running back is. And they really do need someone. Because, they still don't got anyone. This is the first round here. Obviously, I'm going to have to pull up the second round in a minute. But obviously, these takes were casual. I went a little fast because I didn't want to make this, an hour-long video that no one's going to watch anyway because YouTube's cooked and does not recommend anything to anyone. But, screw it. Let's go down the... here's the second round pick. If anyone, singular person, watch this and fast forward to the end, please subscribe and like. It would really help since, obviously, ain't no one watches. But thank you.